Welcome to Traveling the Earth. In today's episode, we're going to discuss traveling in Nepal. Now, for this trip, I came a bit more spontaneously to take care of a few things and to be in a nature environment. I've been longing to get into the Himalayas again for quite some time. The last time I was here was 10 years ago, not to Nepal, but to the general Himalayan region in Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, and Ladakh and Kashmir. So it's been 10 years since I've been here last. Now, typically when I travel internationally, I like to do some planning in advance and then spontaneously flow once I have a framework in place. And that's kind of an approach I take in life in general. So if I had done this trip properly in advance, then I not only would have been doing some research, online and in books about the history and culture of the place, etc., but I would have been looking at a lot of different travel sites and getting a good sense of things. Now, when I do some advanced research, I like to read through travel guides like Rough Guides and Lonely Planets, and both of them have their pros and their cons. I think as far as a more academic overview and some very clear maps, Rough Guide is quite beneficial. The Lonely Planets, though, I enjoy for some from different reasons. They're kind of it's kind of to the point, and there's a lot of good solid information in there. Sometimes I'll even read older guides, not for the hotel and restaurant information, but just to get a general sense of things, because different writers have different experiences when they travel. I also use online resources. For instance, I'll look through reviews and photos on TripAdvisor. I'll look at videos on YouTube from various travelers. Maybe I'll watch some documentaries in advance about the religion and culture and history of a location, about the landscapes. Look over photos and get a sense of where I might like to travel. Look through things like, say, WikiVoyage sometimes is a decent first stop. Wikipedia sometimes is a decent first stop. We're not doing a PhD here. We're just trying to get a broad overview of a place and figure out, where do I want to go? How do I lay out my personal itinerary to reach my personal goals and desires for the trip? Whether it's like, do I want to go, if it's Nepal, do I want to go trekking? Do I want to go mountain climbing? Do I want to go canyoneering? Do I want to do kayaking, boating, rafting? Do I want to just explore history and culture in the Kathmandu Valley? Do I want to get out in nature into the jungles? Do I want to see one-horned rhinos and elephants? Do I want to see tigers and other big predatory cats? Do I like birding? So there are many different options. Do I want to go mountain biking? Do I want to go on motorcycle rides through the mountains? Do I want to go in a tour group, or do I want to go by myself? I like to just ride around on buses through the Himalayas. I enjoy that. It's like it's a good time for me. That might be a little too intense for some people's stomachs, and they might not enjoy it. But I like to see the views. Like, personally, I like to drive, but I wouldn't dare drive in India and Nepal. I just like to, sit back and enjoy. And I like to go walking. So I would kind of be pulling together a general itinerary, try to figure out how much time, how much money do I have, budget these things out in advance. And I did do these things in advance, but I didn't go into as much specifics as I would have liked before the trip. And so I'm kind of like doing things a bit more spontaneously and doing research in the moment before doing videos. I would have liked to have been much more thorough in my research for videos prior to. There are many factors, like when it comes to making videos and traveling, such as, weather, and the weather can impact many things here in Nepal because of the monsoons. So anyway, like I would encourage you to do some research in advance. But I wanted to say that many of us now are dependent on online sources, but just consider that sometimes electricity or internet is not going to be sufficient for what you need. You might not get a good enough signal as you're traveling, so you might want a hard copy, guidebook like a Rough Guide or a Lonely Planet as you travel. or you might want to, on your device, download PDFs from various guidebooks and information that you might need related to specific hotels, restaurants, in other places that you want to visit, because you need to know the hours. Sometimes things are there are seasonal hours, and so places are not open the same. They might have different days that they're open as opposed to places in the West. So just consider that there might be some factors that you hadn't pre-planned for. So have things available maybe on a flash drive, on your phone, but of course you might take up too much data, so if you got it on a flash or something, or an external, that could be beneficial and helpful. And it could, like the problem with carrying around a Lonely Planet or a Rough Guide or something like that is it weighs a lot. And so for instance, if you're traveling in India, it's a giant book, either one. Whereas in Nepal, it's a much more slender volume from either of those companies. So but I find benefit from both, and I've utilized both in my travels going back a few decades. So anyway, I just wanted to share this information with you, and until next time, travel well.